everyone. Buenos dias. Everyone can hear me okay? My name is Jeff Cruz, and I am pleased to be announced today as the Executive Director of the Latinos for Secure Retirement Coalition. So the Latinos for Secure Retirement Coalition, a little background, it was first formed in 2005 by Dr. Gabriela Lemus, who's here somewhere. She's going to talk about that a little bit more. And it was formed by LULAC, League of United Latin American Citizens, because in 2005, President George W. Bush wanted to privatize Social Security and dismantle it brick by brick. Social Security is so critical for everyone in America, but especially for Latino families, who the vast majority, over 2/3, rely on Social Security for 90% or more of their income in retirement. And around a quarter rely on it for nearly all their income in retirement. So critically important. I also want to mention, Social Security is the largest children's anti-poverty program, and Latinos really benefit from that benefit for children. We work in blue-collar jobs that are physically demanding, so the disability benefit is also critical to Latino communities. So we were successful in 2005, thought the threat to Social Security was maybe receding and going away, but we were wrong. Because in 2010, Republicans attacked Social Security again. They formed the Simpson-Bowles Deficit Commission. Keep in mind, Social Security has never contributed a single penny to the deficit, and it is barred from doing so by law. But nevertheless, they went after the program, and so we relaunched Latinos for Secure Retirement with amazing groups, including National Hispanic Council on Aging, National Hispanic Medical Association, Hispanic Federation, and others. And so we were successful again in defending the program from the deficit attacks. So, the coalition continued for several years, and we will hear from some of the great leaders who kept the Latinos for Secure Retirement going, but it went dormant about 5 years ago. Now, fast forward to this year. Trump on the campaign trail said the right things about protecting Social Security, but sometimes what people say and what they do is not always the same, and that's the case in Social Security. Almost immediately, they fired 7,000 frontline workers that are critical to making sure we get the benefits we need. They drastically reduced Spanish language services, making it difficult. They closed offices in communities across the country, and now they're making it more difficult for older adults to get disability, and they are attacking SSI. So Social Security is under threat. They've also exposed massive amounts of data through DOJ that are out. They kind of downloaded a bunch of data, everyone's Social Security number and critical information, and so we are concerned about getting that. And then you also look, about priorities and leadership. And we had a great commissioner who you'll hear from shortly before, but the new commissioner, what he did is he lied about his company's health. And he is being sued by investors as the value of that company has declined by millions and millions of dollars because they just made up numbers of projections. And again, now he's being sued by investors. One of the things he did was steer a no-bid contract to his former company and his friends. And so now we have congressional allies kind of looking into that. And then President Trump also appointed him to run the IRS. So instead of just focusing on Social Security, now you have him running two large agencies. So once again, there's a tremendous need for this coalition. We'll hear more. But there's two more things I want to touch on before I pass the mic. They've also attacked the health care support for seniors. There's been drastic cuts to Medicare. We are seeing community hospitals close throughout the country. And just a couple days ago, a week ago, they started announcing premiums for the ACA and for Medicare. And what we've seen is, the cost of living adjustment in Social Security is nice, but it's almost entirely consumed by 11% increases in Medicare premiums. People in the ACA are seeing their deductibles and premiums almost double. And we have a secretary of HHS that listens to crackpots off the internet over doctors and scientists and peer-reviewed science. And so we're seeing life-saving vaccinations that are making it more difficult to access. And so we are relaunching the coalition. One of the first things we're doing is partnering with Social Security Works to launch Seguro Social Adelante, which is a Spanish language campaign. They don't want people to know what's going on with Social Security and Medicare. And so what we're going to do is make sure that Spanish-speaking people, and there's 50 million Spanish speakers around in the U.S., a lot of them are bilingual, and you see, like, even in my family, my mom doesn't speak Spanish at all. My dad's perfectly bilingual. My mother-in-law is Spanish only. My father-in-law is, definitely Spanish preferred. My kids are comfortable in both, and it's just, there's a lot of mixed families. And so we want to provide materials so even, English speakers, if they, need to talk to their Spanish-only uncle, that they have the resources to share. And so we will be launching the campaign. I've talked quite a bit, and we have an amazing lineup of people here. So I'm going to pass it next to our hosts, who I believe you guys all know because, this is National Hispanic Council on Aging, low-income apartments. We are hosting this event, and so we're so delighted to be here. But let me pass it to Dr. Yanira Cruz.
Buenos días. Thank you, Jeff. Buenos días a todos. Thank you for being here. And what a delight to come together around issues that are so important to all of us, right? And the other day, I was talking with one of you here, and they were telling me how concerned they are about some of the benefits that are being cut. There was this one in particular person that was sharing her story is a cancer survivor, and she is on Medicaid, and she is concerned that with the cuts, she won't be able to have the necessary nutrition and food in order for her to stay healthy. So folks here at Casa Iris are really concerned about the cuts. They're living those concerns each day. And so this coalition couldn't be more important today more than ever. So thank you, Jeff, for bringing us together. And our country, as you know, is facing serious challenges. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and SSI are under attack. Thousands of experienced Social Security workers, as Jeff has indicated, have been pushed out. Local field offices are closing, and new rules threaten to cut benefits and restrict eligibility, making it harder for millions of people, especially Latino older adults, to access the benefits they have earned. At the same time, public health is being politicized, putting lives at risk. Access to life-saving vaccines is being undermined, and the expertise of doctors, researchers, and scientists is being dismissed. Cuts to Medicare and Medicaid are forcing community hospitals to close, leaving our most vulnerable residents with fewer care options. And these challenges also place an enormous strain on family caregivers, most of them women, who are already carrying the emotional, financial, and physical burden of caring for aging loved ones. This is why today's renewal is so important. Latinos for a Secure Retirement has a long and proud history of defending Social Security, pensions, and the economic well-being of Latino older adults. And today, with the announcement of the Seguro Social Adelante campaign, in partnership with Social Security Works, we're taking another major step forward by ensuring that accurate, accessible Spanish language information reaches and gets to families who need it most. I would like to congratulate Jeff Cruz for his leadership and expertise as he continues to guide this work with clarity, with intention, commitment, and, which is very rare in this city, with heart. He cares about the community. I would also like to thank our partners, our leaders who are here today, our congressional members who are here with us today for participating in this important effort. And of course, at NACOA, our mission is clear. It has always centered on dignity, on equity and economic security for all older adults. We are proud to continue supporting Latinos for a secure retirement and working alongside them to strengthen Social Security, protect access to health care, and expand retirement savings opportunities, because every older adult deserves to age with stability, independence, and peace of mind. Gracias por formar parte de este importante momento. Juntos seguiremos luchando por todos los adultos mayores. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Dr. Cruz. And if people don't know, I am from the great city of Chicago. I am half Puerto Rican. And in the north side, where my family, growing up, it was 100%, maybe not 100%, but 99.9% Puerto Rican. Very, very Puerto Rican as a kid. But now that I'm in my 40s, the neighborhood has changed a lot. We see Latinos from everywhere. We have Peruvians now, Ecuadorians, Dominicans, Guatemalans, Nicaraguans, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's been amazing to see the north side of Chicago change. And it's also been amazing to see the great representation. We elected a couple Congresses ago, and we're really lucky to be. We're really lucky to be elected, represented by Congresswoman Ramirez, who's a great champion for Latino seniors, and I'd like to welcome her to the mic now.
Pues buenos días, yo voy a comenzar en español si está bien con ustedes. Como dijo Jeff, mi nombre es Delia Catalina Ramírez y yo soy la congresista que representa a un poquito menos de 1 millón de personas en la área de la ciudad de Chicago y norte oeste del estado de Illinois. Y soy la primera latina en todo el medio oeste electa al Congreso de Estados Unidos. Así que hay mucha responsabilidad. Y estamos rompiendo techos, yo en el medio oeste, y van a escuchar de mi colega aquí en Arizona también en un momentito. Pero creo que lo más importante para que ustedes sepan, estamos aquí hablando de cómo Seguro Social Adelante, la campaña que en verdad protege el Seguro Social y se asegura que nuestras comunidades latinas tengan los recursos necesarios. Lo importante que es entender la conexión personal. Yo soy la hija de 2 padres guatemaltecos que emigraron a este país en los principios de los 80s, ya saben un poquito más de mi edad con eso. Y mis papás vinieron a este país, como tanta gente, como tantos de ustedes que están aquí, a trabajar, a tratar de darle a sus hijos una oportunidad en vida que tal vez no pudieron tener en Guatemala, o en Cuba, o en Ecuador, o en Perú, Panamá, Salvador, México y diferentes países que sé que están representados aquí. Y para mis papás, haber trabajado aquí más de 40 años, poderse retirar, es uno de los logros más importantes, pero también necesarios y también que ellos merecen. Mis papás, como muchas otras familias, se retiraron luchando, manteniéndose a flote solamente por medio de su seguro social. Sabemos que la inflación alcanza niveles históricos y el costo de los seguros médicos continúa subiendo y los costos de servicios públicos, la vivienda, los alimentos, todo sigue subiendo. Interesantemente, para gente como mi mamá, se tuvo que retirar hace 1 año y medio, pero desafortunadamente lo que recibe en Seguro Social no es suficiente. $988 al año en una ciudad como Chicago. Y si no fuera porque mi papá también tiene su seguro social y tienen su casita, ellos no pudieran salir adelante. Es porque mi mamá 2 veces a la semana va a limpiar casas. Su hija es una congresista en Washington y ella los sábados y miércoles limpia casas. De ahí vengo yo. Y por eso es que es tan importante tener personas en el Congreso que entienden la importancia de proteger Seguro Social. Asegurarse que el Seguro Social no sea privatizado como quiere el presidente Donald Trump. Y más que todo, no solo no privatizarlo, hay que expandirlo. Asegurándose que el Seguro Social refleje el costo de vida que continúa subiendo en este país. Porque la renta sigue subiendo, ¿verdad? Los huevos un día están a $5, el otro día están a $12. La leche sigue subiendo. Y es para mí ridículo, despreciable y criminal que en un momento como este tengamos que vivir con el temor que el Seguro Social puede ser privatizado cuando tú y yo sabemos debe ser expandido y público. Todos merecemos un retiro seguro y digno, ¿sí o no? Sí. Especialmente después de trabajar durante años y años y contribuir pagando impuestos a programas como el Seguro Social y Medicare. Y eso incluye nuestra comunidad latina que trabaja tanto en este país. Mientras luchamos por proteger y emplear el seguro social presente, defendemos también la transformación de poder tenerlo expandido. Y es porque también aquí quiero dejarles saber a ustedes que yo estaré presentando un proyecto de ley en los próximos días que estará expandiendo las pensiones para todos, para garantizarse que todos los trabajadores reciban sus pensiones que merecen. Porque yo creo que es posible crear un Estados Unidos en el que todos los trabajadores pueden jubilarse con dignidad y el respeto que ellos merecen, sea mi papá, Luis Ramírez, María Elvira Ramírez o cada uno de nosotros que estamos aquí. Estoy lista para luchar por eso y es porque estoy tan contenta de estar en esa conferencia de prensa con el comité que en este momento va a tomar esa campaña de Seguro Social Adelante y asegurarse que todos estemos incluidos y que el español se siga usando, ¿verdad que sí? Porque inglés no es oficial para mí. Yo soy bilingüe y estoy muy orgullosa de eso. Diré algunas palabras en inglés y terminaré ahí. We know that every American deserves a safe, dignified, secure retirement, especially after working year after year after year, paying taxes, contributing to programs like Social Security and Medicare, like my parents did. My father worked at a factory bakery, unfortunately not unionized, and when he retired after being diagnosed with cancer, he didn't get a pension. He didn't get a long retirement. He got a frozen pie. That's what he got. His Social Security is the only thing that allows he and my mother to be able to live some form of dignity life as they have retired. My mother retired a little under 65 because of health conditions. But unfortunately, her Social Security is only $988 a month. And it means that twice a week, the mother of a congresswoman cleans home so that she can try to extend a little bit more to be able to ensure that our parents are able to maintain their home and maintain the cost of living. I know that we have to protect Social Security. We have to protect it with everything we have, and we actually have to expand it so that it actually lives up to the cost of living that we have seen in this country. It is why I'm here today with this campaign to ensure that the Latino community, both in Spanish and English, understands what they deserve in benefits and the work that we're doing to ensure that we're not just protecting Social Security from being privatized, we're also expanding it. Because we understand that what is happening is not right. It must change. Working families, especially our elders, deserve every single thing they need to thrive. And together, we're going to make sure that that becomes possible with this campaign and in partnership with the colleagues and friends and organizations that are here today. It's why also, before I get out of here, I want to tell you about an excitement announcement that I'm making. While we fight to protect and expand Social Security, I will be introducing and championing the Transformative Pensions for All Act with Senator Bernie Sanders. The Pensions for All Act will require corporations to either provide a traditional pension plan for their workers, so that people like my father moving forward would actually be able to retire with a pension, or to pay into the federal retirement system to ensure that all of their workers receive retirement benefits. An America where every worker can actually retire with dignity and respect. I believe that is possible. It is what we're going to work towards, and we're going to do it together. Thank you. Para adelante, Seguro Social Adelante.
Thank you, thank you. What an amazing champion we have. And, part of establishing the coalition, we are playing defense and protecting Social Security and Medicare, but we're also going to look to promote legislation like the Pensions for All bill so we can make sure everyone has a pension. And so we look forward to working with the Congresswoman on that. She's a great champion. We have new champions coming to Congress, but we also lost a great champion earlier this year. Congressman Raul Grijalva has been an absolute rock in protecting Social Security. A little background on myself, I quit my job working on the Hill 2004. I mentioned that, tried to get John Kerry elected. When we came back, Republicans controlled everything, and privatizing Social Security was their number one push. Well, in 2005, there was a young congressman from Arizona, newly elected, and he was one of our champions in defending Social Security. Years later, I got a great chance to work with Raul Grijalva on the Supplemental Security Income, SSI, Restoration Act, because some of the asset limits and other criteria to qualify hadn't been updated since the 1970s. And obviously, costs have gone up a lot. So he was a champion not only for Social Security, but for SSI. And so we want to take just 30 seconds of silence to remember one of our key allies and champions, Raul Grijalva. So 30 seconds. So thank you. And there's Raul. You can see some pictures of him in action. Yeah, he's great. So while we have lost a great champion, we are lucky to have a new champion for Social Security and SSI who was just sworn in, long overdue, should have been sworn in weeks ago. But after, I think, the longest wait to be sworn in the history of Congress, I'm pretty sure, she was sworn in a couple days ago, and we are super excited to have her, Congresswoman Grijalva.
Thank you. Hola. Buenos días, buenos días. Muchas gracias por el momento de silencio por mi papá. Qué curioso, ¿verdad? Nos parecemos, son los cachetes, yo creo. Todos me dicen, ¿te pareces tanto a tu papá? I'm like, son los cachetes, yo creo que sí. Pues buenos días, buenos días. Yo me llamo Adelita Grijalva, soy la congresista representando a Arizona, la primera latina a ser elegida, y acabamos de tener juramento menos de una semana. Todavía estoy bien nuevecita a esta posición, pero te agradezco mucho a tener la oportunidad de estar aquí. Yo creo que es más importante que nada que defendemos Seguro Social, porque Seguro Social no es regalo. Todos trabajamos por eso. Es algo que debemos de tener como beneficio. No estamos pidiendo algo que no trabajamos muy duro a hacerlo. Mi nana, mi tata, mi mamá, todos estaban en Seguro Social y es tan importante poder tener vida de dignidad. So, para mí es un honor estar aquí con ustedes, pero más que nada a defender un programa que no debemos de tener que defender como se siente como que cada año estamos aquí defendiendo un programa que es beneficio que trabajadores lo hicimos año por año. So, es un asunto en Seguro Social que tenemos que defender. So right now, today, my name's Adelita Grijalva. I represent Arizona. I was just sworn in less than a week ago, and I waited the longest in history to get sworn in. It's a little bit crazy, but here we are. So right now, there is an assault on the most fundamental federal programs that we have for decades provided to people as they age and face disabilities. Time after time, we've heard Trump and Republicans say they want to protect Social Security, and time after time, we see them pushing policies to dismantle it. I'd like to spend a few moments talking about the vital program that is too often left out of the conversation. Supplemental Security Income, SSI, is a supplemental program to the Social Security system that provides very modest financial assistance for people who are unable to meet their most basic needs. I'm talking about those who cannot afford food, housing, medicine, and electricity. When we talk about fighting for vulnerable populations, this is it. SSI is the reason nearly 8 million more people in this nation are not homeless. To qualify for benefits, a person must have extremely limited income and resources and either be blind or severely disabled and over the age of 65. SSI provides for 1.3 million children, niños, who have disabilities such as cerebral palsy or Down syndrome. This program is particularly important for older women and women of color who face systematic inequalities throughout their lives. Among women and girls who receive SSI in 2021, 25.6% are Latina. Unfortunately, many provisions of this program have not been updated since 1972. That's 55 years. I was born in 1971, so I know. when it was first signed into law by Richard Nixon. So many of the requirements are out of date and people cannot get the help they deserve. And yet, what are Republicans doing to this program? Instead of improving a program that is an economic lifeline to millions in this country, they are attacking it. As we speak, the Trump administration is preparing to propose a rule to cut SSI benefits and strip eligibility to hundreds and thousands of low-income people who rely on this lifeline. They also want to make it harder for eligible people to get and keep SSI, creating new red tape for beneficiaries and more work for the Social Security Administration, SSA, already depleted and overburdened staff. And of course, as they make these cuts, they will recycle the same tired talking points that are attacking hard-working Latinos to justify their cuts. Mi padre, el congresista Raúl Grijalva, fue un defensor de SSI, porque él sabía estos programas son especialmente importantes para la clase trabajadora y tienen que ser protegidos. Sabía que las personas que reciben este programa son entre las más vulnerables del país. Sabía que mejorar el programa SSI es una de las mejores maneras para combatir la pobreza en esta nación. Punto. No podemos permitir recortes o cambios en las reglas a este programa. SSI es un beneficio que muchísima gente necesita para sobrevivir. No es un lujo, es una necesidad. Por eso es mi honor estar aquí hoy para continuar esta lucha, para proteger los programas que fueron creados por personas que creen en esta lucha como nación. Cuidarnos uno al otro. Es un orgullo ser parte de este movimiento y agradezco a todas las organizaciones que han unido hoy para defender a las personas y los programas que están tan importantes en nuestra nación. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
And next, we are going to hear from Brett Wilkes with Hispanic Federation. Hispanic Federation is one of the key members of our coalition. They partner with more than 800 advocacy groups and service groups and communities across the country. So they really have the heart and soul of the Latino community. Brett?
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Yanira. This is so exciting to be here at the relaunch of this incredible coalition. Focus on one of the most important issues impacting our communities. At Hispanic Federation, we believe that access to health care and adequate retirement benefits are the bedrock of our nation's safety net, and in many cases can be the difference between life and death of many of our vulnerable populations. Consider that more than half of the Latino community that are seniors rely almost entirely on Social Security for their retirement. And 3/4 of those same seniors really depend on Social Security for the majority of their retirement income. It is absolutely critical to the success of our communities and our seniors to be able to have this. But despite not promising not to touch Social Security, the Trump administration is chipping away at these benefits and dramatically increasing the cost of the Medicare Part B standard monthly premium, which covers physician and outpatient hospital services by almost 10% per year. Yet Social Security itself has been constrained. The cost of living is not enough for seniors to be able to cover the additional costs of Medicare Part B. The COLA is only 2.8%, and yet the cost of Medicare Part B rose by 9.7%. And this is the third consecutive year that this has happened. And so what's happening is Medicare Part B is becoming almost unaffordable for our senior population. When the Trump administration cuts these programs, they're not just trimming the fat. They're tearing a hole in the safety net for the most vulnerable Americans in our nation. And Medicaid in particular is a critical lifeline. Although Latinos make up only about 90% of the U.S. population, Latinos account for nearly 28% of all Medicaid and CHIP enrollees. Latinos rely on Medicaid because the uninsured rate among non-elderly Latinos remains more than double that of non-Hispanic whites. In fact, Medicaid covers approximately 58% of all births of Latina women. Yet, in the Republican so-called Big Beautiful Bill, they cut more than $1 trillion, mostly from Medicaid, but also from the Affordable Care Act, which is destabilizing our healthcare system and making the care more expensive and harder for almost all Americans. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that if these healthcare cuts will dramatically terminate health insurance for 15 million Americans. So think about that. And then finally, thanks to the Affordable Care Act, more Latinos have had the opportunity to choose health coverage at affordable rates, and we've seen record enrollments. But in perhaps the biggest Republican cut of all, 9 million Latinos could see their health care costs soar next year if the enhanced subsidies that millions rely on to keep their care affordable are allowed to expire. In fact, if the enhanced premium tax cuts expire, 52% of Black and 49% of Latino enrollees in the Affordable Care Act enhanced tax credits are projected to leave the program entirely. So, as the wealthiest nation in the world, the United States does not need to make these devastating cuts. We can balance our budgets, provide affordable health insurance, and care for our most vulnerable seniors all at the same time. Hispanic Federation is honored to support the relaunch of Latinos for a Secure Retirement, to be part of this great coalition, working hand in hand with so many wonderful organizations. And we stand with our colleagues to call upon the Republican Congress and the Trump administration to halt these devastating cuts to our nation's safety net. We can and we must do better. Thank you.
And we're lucky to be joined today by Martin O'Malley. I'm sure you guys have heard of him before. Former mayor of Baltimore, former governor of Maryland, and most important to us today, one of the best Social Security commissioners the agency has had. And so we welcome you to the stage.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Gracias. Buenos dias. It's a great honor to be with you. I was sharing with the Congresswoman, Congresswoman Grahava, that my immigrant Irish great-grandparents actually settled in her district in Bisbee, Arizona. And my grandfather, the first of a generation born in the United States, was actually fluent in Spanish. And while we have all inherited many fine qualities from him, being bilingual is not one of those that I have. So I beg your pardon, and I beg your indulgence, and I thank you for being here. It is a tremendous act of courage that my Latino American neighbors demonstrate just by gathering and coming together anywhere in our country today. So it's a great honor to be with you. All I had to risk was the traffic coming down from Baltimore. But I applaud you and your courage, and I stand with you in solidarity. As Jeff said, I had the honor to lead the men and women of the Social Security Administration. I was appointed by President Biden, confirmed by a lopsided margin by the United States Senate. And Social Security represents more clearly probably than any act that we have ever passed as a people the shared belief we have in the dignity of every person, in the common good that we share, in the truth that we're all in this together and that we have to help each other if we are to succeed. And for 90 years, Social Security never missed a monthly payment. It is an elegantly simple idea that says this: if you work hard, if you contribute into the system to earn your benefit, then your country will have your back and the next generation will have your back, so that every person who retires can retire with dignity. So that's why Latinos for a secure retirement is such an important effort. When I was at Social Security, we did a lot of good things to reduce language barriers so that people who earned their benefits could receive their benefits. But right now, Donald Trump continues to attack Social Security every single day, initially with big lies, like that dead people receive benefits, which is absolutely not true. Big lies that non-citizens are sucking the system dry, not true. The only people that are able to receive benefits are if you are here in our country legally and you contribute. But here's the encouraging news. The encouraging news in a time of political polarization is that 80% of Americans believe that Social Security should be made stronger and better and protected. 80% of us. 80% of us. So what we have seen, thanks to Social Security Works and other coalitions, is that when the democracy pushes back on Donald Trump's attacks on Social Security, Donald Trump and his team back off from some of those attacks. So do not be discouraged. Be encouraged, because this program needs to be strengthened. People want it to be strengthened. And while we're certainly seeing barriers being put up to people, and especially Spanish-speaking people's ability to access the program, the truth is, when the bill was signed into law, it said simply, if you're an American citizen and you pay in for your benefit, then you are entitled to that benefit. There was no prohibition against people receiving Social Security if they can't read or if they can't write. In fact, that's why all of those Social Security offices were created. And there was no prohibition against people who might speak Spanish as their first language that was ever put into the act, and there never should or will be, so long as we rise up with the great Congress people we saw today. That makes us all feel good. Congresswoman Grijalva, she was barely sworn in for 48 hours, and she managed to get a piece of legislation passed unanimously. I don't think any congressperson's ever been able to do that before. So please, make sure you stay involved, let your friends know, and make sure that we continue to speak out for Social Security, because the truth is that while I think 40% of Americans over 65 depend entirely upon Social Security as the difference between living in poverty or living with dignity, that number is even greater among our Hispanic and Latino neighbors. Also, greater numbers of people experience barriers in applying for benefits they've already earned. So children on SSI, widows, orphans, there is an under-application among people who are Hispanic and Latino who earn their benefits. So that's why this coalition is so important. Thank you for coming together, and I'm honored to be here in your presence. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And next, I would like to introduce Amy Hinojosa. She is one of our coalition partners. She focuses on Latinas women who, you may not know, live several years longer on average, and have tend to earn less during their working career. So they have a lot of challenges, and there's no better leader for Latinas than Amy Hinojosa.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jeff, and thank you for all of the effort that you've put into relaunching Latinos for a Secure Retirement. My name is Amy Hinojosa. I work for MANA, a national Latina organization. We're the oldest and largest Hispanic women's organization in the country. And, I think that, Governor O'Malley, you set it up really perfectly. Latinos have a stake in this conversation because we're not asking for anything that we didn't work for. And to that point, I want to talk about power a little bit. Right? Because I think sometimes when we're worried about our benefits or worried about cuts, we forget about the power of our community. 1 in 5 people in the United States today is Latino. Latinas represent the largest portion of the female workforce in the United States. But we still only make 54 cents on the dollar for what a white male earns. 58 cents if you're talking about a full-time worker. But how many Latinas with all their caregiving responsibilities can work full-time all the time? Not a lot. But what does that mean when it comes to retirement? That means that if we're only making half of what a white male earns, then we're only going to earn a small percentage of that for our Social Security, right? So the average Latina in retirement over 65 makes less than $14,000 a year, receives $14,000 a year from their Social Security. That's not enough to live on. That's not enough to live on if you live in Washington, D.C., right? Or Baltimore, or anywhere that's more than just a very small rural community. And even there, you're going to be stretching your pennies. So when Congresswoman Grijalva talks about SSI, when Congresswoman Ramirez talks about pensions for all, we're talking about making families whole, right? And making it so that people can live in dignity in their retirement when they've given so much and they've worked so hard their entire lives to make this United States economy go. Because I don't want us to forget in this moment where our community is under attack and everyone's looking at immigrants and Latinos, and they don't distinguish, right? Immigrant, Latino, they see us all the same, right? And we're all under attack. If some of us are under attack, we're all under attack. But they're looking at us and we're worried about what's coming down the pike when we need to remind everyone that we are the backbone of this economy. We are the workforce of the United States. Let's not forget COVID. Who were the workers that went to work? Not because they wanted to when everyone else was at home with a mask on, but because they had to. They couldn't afford anything else. They had to go and work. They had to survive. And because of that, our economy was able to make it through COVID. I don't have to tell you what jobs Latinos work. You know this. And what we know is that we have an emerging political power. We have numbers that we need to tap into, and we all need to come together as a community and say, in this moment, you are not going to take away what Latinos have worked for in the United States. That doesn't mean to the detriment of everyone else, because when we talk about poor people, when we talk about folks who are, going without benefits, we're also talking about poor white people, poor black people, poor Asians, poor LGBT community members. So when we're talking about raising the Latino community up, we're talking about raising the entire community up. And so we don't just want to bring our people forward, we want to bring everyone forward. And so this is why this coalition, Latinos for a Secure Retirement, the work that we're going to do, linking arms with our Congress people, with our fellow organizations, we're going to make sure that the Latino voice is heard in this conversation and that the rising tide lifts all boats. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we are very pleased to team up with Social Security Works. They are one of the leading organizations fighting to protect and expand Social Security. And as I mentioned, we are teaming up to provide resources in Spanish. And I want to introduce Alex Lawson, the Executive Director, to talk more about that.
Thanks so much, Jeff. And I really do feel like I'm in the presence of the Avengers here, right? They team up when we are under threat. Gabby, Abby, Jeff, and it's an honor. Commissioner O'Malley shows what can be achieved when working to benefit the people. Under his leadership, the Social Security Administration lowered barriers to the earned benefits that people earned. They made it, he and his administration, the hardworking folks at Social Security Administration, including Abby, understood that Social Security is for the people. It's ours. Nobody gives it to us. We earn it. And now I want to do a little bit of history, because the moment for the Avengers to team up is right now. 90 years ago, Social Security was created. Why? It wasn't out of the goodness of everybody's heart and everything was going fine. It was from the depths of the Great Depression. It was from the depths of the largest economic catastrophe the world has ever seen. Caused by who? The billionaires on Wall Street, who did not want to pay their fair share. They wanted to take everything and leave nothing for the people. And what did that do? Drove the entire world economy into a ditch. How did they do it? By dividing the people, by pointing one person against another and saying, oh, it's not the billionaires, it's the immigrants. It's not the billionaires, it's somebody else over here. They used fear to divide the people. And then what they achieved is catastrophe. But in that moment, in that difficult moment, the people came together. And through adversity, solidarity grew. And it didn't come from politicians. I love our politicians who stand with us. But it came from the people. It came from the people who were not afraid to stand together and demand a country that works for them and not the wealthy few who ran it into the ditch. That's 90 years ago. It sounds really similar to what we're seeing today, doesn't it? Who are the ones in charge of the government right now? Who sat behind President Trump at his inauguration? You had the richest people in the history of the world. Billionaire, billionaire, billionaire. Did they build this country? Have you ever seen a single billionaire build this country? No. You know who built this country? Working people. Latinos built this country. People build this country. When we all come together, we can create the greatest nation in the history of the planet. But the billionaires, they're not interested in that. The billionaires only want another golden yacht, another golden helicopter, and they're willing to sell off, destroy this country. That's what they're trying to do right now. That's why they're attacking the Latino community. That's why, as speakers have noted, they don't care if they're going after an immigrant, or the Supreme Court, bought by billionaires, said that they could just go after people based on how they look. Is there anything less American than the idea that the state can arrest you based on how you look? This is shameful. But we have been through this before. Maybe not us in this room, but the people who came before us gave us an example. Through adversity, solidarity is what's needed. When they try to divide us, we come together. And that's why at Social Security Works, we're so proud to create this program, which I've dreamed of for so many years, because we know that one of the ways that they attack solidarity and divide us up is by removing the ability of people to access the information, the benefits that they've earned. As the commissioner said, people have earned their benefits, but they don't know that they qualify for them because it's not available in the language that they are comfortable using. That's what we are going to change. That's just one of the things that we're dedicated to doing today. But that information is also to tell people that this is the time. I understand. I can empathize. I don't understand the fear of just walking down the street and worrying about a federal police officer deciding that I look like they should arrest me. Right? It's up to me to stand in solidarity with the communities that are under attack right now, and to work every day to ensure that the economic fear, because that's what they're doing. They can arrest people, they can kidnap them off the street, but they're also taking away their health care. They're taking away their Social Security. They're pushing people into poverty. They're making people, dividing people and taking their strength and power away. We have to bring that back. We have to bring it all back together. Make sure that people understand it's my Social Security. I earned it. Make sure that they understand I deserve health care. I deserve health care in the richest country in the history of the world. I deserve health care. I deserve dignity. And always remembering working people built this country. And we're not going to allow a band of billionaires to divide us up, point us at each other, create fear and hatred across this country so that they can get richer and we're left on our own. So it's my great honor to be here with you today, and I pledge every day to fight those billionaires. We're not going to let Elon Musk and his ilk win. What we're going to do is defend Social Security. We're going to defend Medicaid. We're going to defend Medicare. And then we're going to go further. We're going to expand Social Security. We're going to ensure that we have field offices all across this country with Spanish-speaking people, with language access for everyone. We're going to expand Medicare, Medicaid, ACA. We're going to not stop until everybody is guaranteed health care in this country. If you get sick, You get the care that you need because we can do it when we work together. And I pledge to stand with each and every one of you to make that our reality. Thank you so much for having me here today.
All right. We have two more speakers today. Both of them were former executive directors of the Latinos for Secure Retirement Coalition. It's my honor to introduce Dr. Gabriela Lemus, who started the coalition back in 2005 when Bush tried to privatize it. Since then, she's led many leading Latino organizations. She helped lead the Progressive Caucus on the Hill. And now she runs a nonprofit in Maryland providing critical services to the community. Dr. Gabriela Lemus.
Muy buenos días a todos. Es un placer estar aquí con ustedes. Siento mucha emoción. Esto fue una idea en el 2005. Tengo notas, pero creo que les voy a hablar así simplemente y directamente porque han escuchado de todos estas brillantes personas, han escuchado por qué estamos defendiendo el Seguro Social. Just really briefly, I'm going to go back and forth entre inglés y español porque somos bilingües. In 2005, when I founded Latinos for a Secure Retirement, Brent actually was with me, and Jeff wasn't imagined yet. So we parented this organization, and it was all about stopping the privatization of Social Security and to protect the social safety net that it was meant to be, because it is not a pot of money to experiment with. It is a promise. Es una promesa, one that our workers and families depend on. And today, here we are again. You just heard it. We're back in danger. El Seguro Social no es un fondo para experimentar. Es una promesa que nuestros trabajadores y nuestras familias necesitan. Y la necesitamos por todas las razones que han escuchado. No ganamos igual. Y hoy esa promesa está nuevamente en peligro. Despite repeated assurances he would not touch Social Security, the Trump administration has reportedly been preparing a rule that could cut Social Security disability insurance eligibility by up to 20%. That is a lot, and it's unnecessary. That would be the largest cut in Social Security in disability insurance history. And it would make it harder for workers to qualify for both Social SSDI and SSI, and for older workers, anybody over 50, nobody in this room, right, who have paid into the system for decades, and we would all be hit the hardest. A pesar de prometer que no recortaría el Seguro Social, la administración del presidente Trump ha estado preparando una regla que podría reducir la elegibilidad para el seguro por incapacidad hasta en un 20%, el mayor recorte en la historia del SSDI, y esta regla haría mucho más difícil calificar tanto para ello como para el SSI, que afectaría especialmente a los trabajadores mayores de 50 años, nadie aquí, que han aportado al sistema por tantos años. Voy a decirlo, hemos aportado, porque yo ya también ya estoy grande. For the Latino community, the impact would be devastating. Latinos are more likely to work in physically demanding jobs. You just heard about this. Ustedes saben, trabajamos en trabajos bien difíciles. Aunque vivimos mucho más tiempo, de acuerdo a las estadísticas, quizás no vivimos tan bien mientras vamos madurando. ¿Por qué? Porque trabajamos en esos trabajos difíciles. We may live longer according to all the statistics, the ones that Health and Human Services will probably eliminate now. But we don't necessarily live well precisely because we have such difficult jobs. Entonces, yo creo que sería devastador y no creo que nos permita avanzar. Hay muchas cosas que tenemos que avanzar y arreglar, pero este no es un problema. Este es un problema que está siendo causado a propósito. And it's not true. We're good. This Social Security is going well. It's a system that functions, to Alex's point. It's something that works well for all of us. And there's no reason to attack it and cut back and destroy it, because that's basically the hidden agenda. El Seguro Social pertenece al pueblo, no a ninguna administración ni ideología. Recortar estos beneficios es darle la espalda a trabajadores que ya pagaron por estas protecciones con toda una vida de trabajo. Social Security belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to an administration nor to an ideology. Cutting its benefits is to really just put your back to these people, to all our workers, to all of us who've paid into the system for these protections all these years. So, on this 20th anniversary, ya estamos cumpliendo 20 años como organización. Me parece muy difícil creer eso, que hace tanto tiempo esa idea de crear Latinos por una jubilación segura empezó, y aquí estamos, 20 años después, todavía peleando, exhortando solidaridad entre nos, pero también con el pueblo alrededor nuestro, porque vivimos dentro de otro país que quizás no fue nuestro país de origen, pero aquí estamos. Y me enorgullece que Latinos por una jubilación segura está reafirmando su compromiso, y no permitiremos que debiliten o destruyan el Seguro Social. Lucharemos para asegurar, permiso, dije que no iba a usar notas, pero aquí estoy con mis notas. Lucharemos para asegurar que cada trabajador y cada mayor reciba los beneficios que pagó y que merece. We are here to continue fighting. We are here united. It's sort of fun seeing my coalition members. We were all in different positions back when this started, and yet here we are. We're still fighting hard. We're still working together, and we're still imagining what a better society could look like. So, muchísimas gracias a todos. Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Thank you. And we're going to do our final speaker, and then we'll have questions and answer. So it is my honor to introduce our final speaker, last but not least. She used to run the Latinos for Secure Retirement Coalition and is one of the true Latina experts on retirement security. You may have seen her on the radio, on TV. She testified before Congress, has worked to get several bills passed that impact our community. I could go on, but I'm going to pass the mic to Abby Zapote.
Buenos días, familia. Buenos días. Buenos días. Y saben que con el apellido Zapote casi siempre estoy al último, entonces no es problema que voy al último hoy. Les quiero hablar un poquito de mí, de mi familia y la conexión que yo tengo con el Seguro Social. Cuando yo empecé como directora ejecutiva, mi mentor Brent me dijo, sabes, creo que tú puedes hacer algo muy bonito con esta organización. Y en ese tiempo yo tenía 25 años, solamente había trabajado en derechos de inmigrantes. Y es cuando tuve la conversación con él y que todos necesitamos que hacer la conexión con inmigrantes y el Seguro Social. Yo vine a los Estados Unidos a los 7 años como persona indocumentada con mi mamá. Nosotros fuimos indocumentados por 15 años, pero por esos 15 años mi mamá estaba trabajando en comida rápida en un Taco Bell. ¿Y qué creen? Cuando yo cumplí los 14 años, pues ¿a dónde trabajé? En Taco Bell, es cierto. Pero como fuimos personas indocumentadas, obvio, estamos pagando nuestros chequecitos, estamos pagando para el Seguro Social. Pero como personas indocumentadas, no ahorrábamos. Exacto. Y hay miles y miles, creo que ahorita ya estamos a 12 millones de personas en los Estados Unidos que son indocumentados, que están pagando para el Seguro Social. Que aunque haya una ley que podría legalizar a esas personas nunca van a tener derecho a ese dinero. Pero esos billones, y digo billones de dólares que vienen de estas personas, aportan al Seguro Social y apoyan al Seguro Social. Eso es algo que todos tenemos que reconocer, porque inmigrantes ayudan a los Estados Unidos. más que nada, necesitamos que asegurar, además necesitamos que asegurar que las personas que sí tienen derecho a estos beneficios, que cuando estaba trabajando con el comisionado O'Malley, estamos asegurando que las personas tuvieran acceso. Primero, acceso, que entendían la elegibilidad y que tuvieran acceso a estos beneficios. Segundo, que el proceso sería fácil, porque me imagino que ustedes tienen muchas historias de decirnos a nosotros cómo hacer estos programas mejores y más fáciles. Porque yo sé que mucha gente que viene a las oficinas no solamente vienen una vez, a lo mejor 2, 3 o 4 veces para asegurar que puedan enrollarse a esos beneficios. Y tercero, asegurar que que las personas, los beneficiantes, que agarren ese dinero mensualmente el día que tiene que llegar. Porque la renta siempre es el primero del mes, ¿verdad? Cada semana tenemos que ir a comprar la comida y ese dinerito nos tiene que alcanzar todo el mes. Entonces, eso es algo muy, muy importante. Y cuando estaba trabajando en el Seguro Social, habíamos pasado 4 reglas para ayudar a las personas a que se queden con esos beneficios y algunas personas que les dieran un poquito más. Porque ese poquito más, aunque sea $50, $60 o $100, es mucho. Quiere decir que a lo mejor va a poder comer, tener acceso a sus medicinas, porque sabemos que es mucho, ¿verdad? Entonces, hoy estoy súper feliz de estar aquí con mis colegas, porque como estamos hablando, necesitamos que tener esta información en español, en los diferentes idiomas que todas las diferentes personas de los Estados Unidos hablan, personas indígenas, personas que son nuevos inmigrantes, que están aquí con asilo. Son personas que son legales, que necesitan esta información. Y eso es lo que nosotros vamos a luchar, a asegurar que tengamos esta información, no solamente en español, pero en otros idiomas, pero también que haya intérpretes en las oficinas, pero también cuando hablemos al número 1-800. Porque ¿cuántas horas estamos ahí esperando para un operador bilingüe? Entonces, nosotros tenemos que estar aquí luchando con ustedes y ustedes con nosotros para exigir no solamente a la administración de Trump, pero a los congresistas que hagan lo que es derecho para ustedes. Entonces, cuando digo que se puede, ustedes van a decir que sí. ¿Se puede? Sí. ¿Se puede? Sí. ¿Se puede? Sí. Muchísimas gracias.
All right, great. Thank you. I want to remind folks that we do have treats in back if you want some tres leche, some muffins, cookies, coffee, etc. But if we have some questions, we're happy to take a question or two from the audience. I think you had one. Yep.
Yo quiero pedir que por favor defiendan la parte de salud. Aquí somos 8 o 9 que hemos estado o estamos con cáncer. Si suben la plata que hay que pagar por yo no podría tener quimioterapia de nuevo. Yo he tenido 2 veces cáncer, hay gente que tiene 1, 2, somos varios aquí. Entonces yo pido, por favor, que defiendan los derechos de la salud para nosotros que estamos con cáncer, o hemos estado. Yo he estado 2 veces, soy metastásica. Puedo tener una tercera vez, no podría tener quimio, no podría tener radiación, no podría tener ninguna de las cosas que yo he tenido. Y entonces yo pido que defiendan los derechos de todos nosotros y de toda la gente que está enferma con otras enfermedades también. No solamente con cáncer, pero para nosotros, la gente con cáncer, no podríamos pagar los tratamientos. No podríamos pagar los tratamientos.
Sí. Pues muchísimas gracias por decirnos eso. Eso es algo muy importante y eso es algo que nosotros hemos estado luchando con las congresistas que estaban aquí también. Yo sé que ellas se están asegurando que hagan algo y nosotros lo estamos notando para también ponerlos en nuestra póliza de asegurarnos de eso. Sí.
Did you have a question?
I kept talking because I have brothers too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a wife.
Gotcha. Yep.
Good. That my benefit.
Mm-hmm.
No more benefit for me. I don't know what's happening.
Gotcha. Do other folks have questions?
So, I'll just take a little bit of what I think both of you are talking about is the attacks are not just on Social Security. We know that. It's attacks on health. It's attacks on Medicaid. It's attacks on folks who need food assistance. It's attacks on all of us across the board. And we have to understand that we have to fight all of those at the same time. Yes. And we know that the attacks actually are aimed at the most vulnerable among us, right? The more care that you need, cancer, other chronic conditions that are paid for by Medicaid because our system doesn't have anything else set up for it. That's where the cuts are. And they lie. They say, oh, it's about work requirements. They are liars. Don't ever think that it's anything other than stealing our benefits that we have earned. One of the worst things that they do is they try to make people feel like it's their fault, right? Like, oh, well, if you'd done something differently, you'd get the care that you need. No, the rule-following people in this country are those who are punished the most by an out-of-control billionaire class who literally, they stole $1 trillion of our health care. Hospitals closing, nursing homes closing, 15 million people kicked off of their health insurance on Medicaid. That wasn't even enough for them, so they spiked premiums for 24 million more, leading to 20 million people without health insurance. And what is their plan? And this is what the truth is. This is why I want to speak with you on this. Their plan is for people to die. That is their plan. And they took that money, which leads to people dying, and they gave it as tax handouts to the richest people in the history of the world. What they have done is they're stealing our health, they're stealing our lives, our dignity. They're trying to steal everything they can to give to the richest people in the history of the world. It has nothing to do with anything but that, which is why there's only one way of fighting back. We can't let them divide up this plan, that plan. No, all of us together, because it is one plan that they're perpetrating on us, and so our defense has to be solidarity, all of us standing together. And then remember, look around the room. There are more of us than there are of them. Millions and millions and millions more of us. They've got 1,000 billionaires. We've got 350 million Americans. We will win as long as we remember what we're fighting for, which is a country that works for the people, not for the billionaires. So thank you so much for sharing your stories.
Okay, we'll take the final question.
En representación de las personas mayores que vivimos en Casa Iris, señores honorables congresistas, me permito agradecerles con las consideraciones más sinceras por la labor efectiva y sólida que realizan en favor de las personas de la tercera edad, en los diferentes niveles y facetas de las actividades humanas de la vida. Para finalizar, les deseo un relevante éxito en sus labores que por hoy les toca desempeñar en pro de la ciudadanía americana de esta bendita y poderosa nación. Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias por sus palabras y es algo que todos nosotros hemos estado luchando por más de ya ahora 20 años, desde el 2001 si se acuerdan, que estamos tratando de asegurar que pasen legislación para que la gente indocumentada podría ser legal, porque esta gente ha estado aquí apoyando a los Estados Unidos, trabajando, apoyando programas como el Seguro Social. Entonces, sí, muchísimas gracias por su recomendación y eso lo tomamos en cuenta y lo vamos a continuar a luchar con ustedes también. Gracias.
All right, well, thank you guys so much. This concludes our program, and, we look forward. We'll be around for a little bit if people want to chat or have additional questions. So thank you guys so much. Yep, thank you.
Great to see you.